Starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me. My name is Preston Taylor, and I am here representing Grand Traverse Personal Protection. As in the flyer or the email you may have received on this, it says I am a police officer. I do not represent the agency that I work for. The information that I'm going to share with you today is a collection of 18 years experience as a police officer, 30+ years experience in the martial arts, and information gathered through independent study and schooling that I have sought out. The information I share with you is not in any way meant to be an insult to your intelligence, and if you feel it to be painfully obvious or common sense, I ask that you use this as a reminder, the information that you are exposed to today, as a reminder, and maybe you'll get a little bit out of it anyway. The title of today's presentation, Your Safety, Your Responsibility. Contrary to my boss, the sheriff, I say in public speaking that if you rely on government to keep you safe, you'll be sorely disappointed. Our personal safety is our responsibility, and we will discuss that further. In this presentation, I hope to expose the following. Perhaps you'll be a little more apt to recognize traits and characteristics that are potentially making you vulnerable, respond effectively and efficiently if necessary, and reduce your chances of becoming a victim. And that's truly why I do what I do, in addition to being a police officer, is to help reduce the statistics of crimes against persons. As with any presentation I do, there are 3 books that I always recommend that you read. The authors of these books have no idea that I recommend these books, but I've read them several times. I've given them away as gifts, and I simply cannot recommend them enough. The Survivors Club from Ben Sherwood, The Unthinkable from Laura Ripley, and The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. And I may refer back to these books a little bit during the presentation. These books are all available in local libraries. You can find them on eBay, and some of them are available on audio as well. Awareness for everyday safety. There are some misconceptions or myths that I wish to get rid of a little bit. The first, there are people whose job it is to protect me, and that is true and accurate. However, government alone cannot and will not keep you safe. And a police officer will not be right around the corner in your time of need, except when you run that red light or stop sign or you're speeding, right? That's when you'll find a police officer. The phrase, there's never a cop around when you need one, there's truth to that. There's a reason that that phrase is out there. In my 18 years, I've been Johnny on the spot maybe a half dozen times when a call has come out. You truly have to take ownership of your personal safety, and buy us time, the police officers, buy us time to get to you to help you out. Another myth or misconception is that nobody really pays attention to me or notices me. Quite to the contrary, know that you're always being observed. You're being observed in your home by your family. Your children are observing you, and that will help shape them as they get older. Your coworkers are observing you as they may wish to emulate or mimic some of the things that you do that make you successful. And there are professional people watchers, and I say that cheek and tongue. People who are out looking, perhaps they're at a mall, a shopping center, they sit and they watch people. I say this with confidence to men and women. If you knew how many times someone has looked at you and had an improper thought it would creep you out. Know that you're always being observed. Another misconception, nothing ever happens here, and nothing has ever happened to someone I know. This is a beautiful phrase. Things that never happen somewhere all of the time. You may live in a town that closely resembles Mayberry. It's blue skies and rainbows all the time, and you just can't imagine a heinous crime taking place there. It may not be happening there, but it's happening somewhere. And in your town, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The community I live in is a beautiful area in northern Michigan, and I've lived here primarily my whole life, and it is not the town that I lived in when I was a child. Evil, if you will, finds its way everywhere. Bad people travel, drugs infiltrate our school systems. Just please know that just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't, and that it is happening somewhere else. And ladies and gentlemen, you might live in a sleepy town, but do you travel? Do you go places? Do you leave that town? You want to be prepared no matter what. And fear is a necessary evil. Just don't let it control you. And that's easy for me to sit here and tell you. The book, The Gift of Fear, is very well worded in its title. Fear is a gift. It was put there for a reason, and we shouldn't ignore it. We should, however, not let it control us. If we let fear control us, the bad guy, if you will, has already won without putting a hand on us. Let fear keep you on your toes, but don't let it control your life. Survival skills. We break it down into 3 different pie sections: mindset, physical ability, and preparedness. And I'm going to expand on all of these. I want you to ask yourself some questions. Is your skill set balanced and constantly evolving? Ask yourself this: when's the last time you took a class to enrich your life personally? A computer class, maybe another language, a physical task such as maybe a weight loss program or running a 5K. And are you constantly evolving? Are you stuck in a pattern of routine? You go to the same coffee shop every morning and go to work at the same time and park in the same spot. These are all things that can be noticed by those who have nothing better to do than but watch you. When you look at these 3, do you believe that one element is more important than the other? Think about that as we go through this. I may change your mind. And like I said, what have you done to develop each section? We'll talk about this a little bit more. All 3, though, are very important to your survival skill set. Mindset. Mindset is absolutely the most important of those 3. It is the most important in surviving a physical confrontation when you're facing your own mortality. It blows physical ability out of the water. Your mindset is absolutely the #1 most important skill, if you will, that you need to have. Understand this, that you are capable of surviving a bad situation. Your mind needs to believe that. You control the situation from beginning to end. Ladies and gentlemen, many times on the job, I'm not in control of the situation due to the size or severity of the call that I'm on, but I portray and or pretend that I'm in control. There is a phrase you'll see a little bit later that is, perception is reality. I want the bad guys, the people I'm dealing with, I want them to perceive that I'm in control, even if I have a tremendous amount of fear on the inside, and at any moment I could lose absolute control of the situation. You need to do whatever it takes to come out on top. Again, this is easy for me to sit here and say, but failing is not an option. It just simply isn't. You have loved ones, family, friends. You have many reasons to live, and what a travesty to let someone rob you of experiencing that. You are important and have more to live for, and you will not allow someone to take that away. In any presentation, I say this. If you're not going to take ownership of your personal safety and exercise safety throughout your life for yourself, know this, that at least one person loves you more than you'll ever know or fully understand. Be there for them, okay? Physical ability. Are you physically fit? There is an author and a trainer that I follow. His name is Tim Larkin. He is an outstanding combat specialist, but he says that physical fitness isn't really crucial in defending yourself. And I'm going to disagree with him a little bit, and I'll further explain. When I should say, if we ever are confronted and we have to defend ourselves, that confrontation might last several minutes. That's an eternity. And the better shape you're in, the better you will be able to manage that situation. There are two main reasons police officers overreact and use too much force on the job. One of those reasons is lack of physical fitness. Ladies and gentlemen, it is when someone's on top of you trying to assault you, that's not the time to think about, why did I have that double whopper for lunch? Or, man, I wish I would have gotten out and got on the treadmill a little more, or walked a path, or got on the bicycle. You do not have to be a triathlete. You do, however, need to possess a moderate level of fitness. Whatever your physical abilities are, know your physical limitations. Are you good at running, but you have horrible upper body strength? Just know your strengths and weaknesses, capitalize on your strengths. Physical fitness is important, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in another slide. So when you realize what your physical abilities are, ask yourself this in a situation: do you run? If you're a horrible runner with horrible aerobic ability, or perhaps you have a lung problem such as asthma or something, or you're a chronic smoker and you don't possess the skill to run, that may not be your best choice then. Do you engage in strength training, or do you practice martial arts or another fighting sport? Do you have physical limitation? Are you ill or injured? In all of the independent study I've done on personal safety, self-defense classes, the topic is never approached, do you have a physical limitation? It is assumed that you're okay. Do you have a cast on your arm? Are you in a wheelchair? I mean, there's a host of many problems you could have. And if that is the case, if you do have a physical limitation, know that. And there's another saying I like: know your limitations and stay within them. Don't enter a race with a distance runner if you can't run a distance. Know your limitations. I want to talk about martial arts for a second. Many people, especially women, do not necessarily see themselves taking martial arts classes or a combat training class. Martial arts training has come a long way, and there are lots of different seminars, schools that you can attend that don't require you to make a lifelong commitment or a lengthy commitment to get the training out of it that you need. For example, a jiu-jitsu class, they specialize in ground fighting, and it's, you know, if you went on a regular basis in 90 days, you would have a tremendous amount of skill on the ground. look into that a little bit. Go visit some studios, and if you think you lack the ability to physically defend yourself, take a step, go in and research this, talk to the instructors, and tell them your concerns. And they can potentially cater to you and your needs. Preparedness. Do you communicate well with others? Can you talk individuals down who are upset? Ladies, and no offense to you men listening, ladies are oftentimes better at communicating than men are. Ladies, you have the genuine concern of a sexual assault over men by far. Truthfully, you may be able to talk yourself out of a bad situation. Your ability to communicate is part of what makes you very successful as a realtor. It's also what can make you successful at avoiding and or stopping a potentially harmful situation. If you don't think you possess strong communication skills, if you feel that you're naive, very gullible, work on that. Do you possess a strong power of observation? Are you a good judge of character? If you don't possess a strong power of observation, or you are a horrible judge of character, again, this is something you need to work on. This is all about situational awareness, picking up on things that the individual who may be a threat to you is displaying, phrases that are spoken, body language. You can potentially see something long before it's coming, just in your ability to have a strong power of observation. Have you ran scenarios through your mind? This is called visualization drills. It's adult daydreaming. There is a tremendous amount of research on this now, especially with our Special Forces guys coming back from combat in the military. Basically, have you mentally practiced your response to a physical confrontation? Studies have shown that it is important that you run your mind through a situation, a scenario, whatever you think could possibly happen to you, and what would you do from the beginning to the end. Equally important is that you see yourself succeeding in this event. The body can't go where the mind's never been. When your mind has been there before, through a visualization drill, your body will respond better. And like I said, there's a tremendous amount of research, current research on this to support that. Perception is reality. This is one of my favorite sayings. How others see you dictates how they'll respond to you. The way you present yourself is highly significant. Your thoughts, your actions, your words equal their perception of you. Men, I'm going to skip over you a little bit here, as oftentimes, because of our testosterone factor, we carry ourselves in a manner that isn't too bad. In other words, we don't want to be the sheep, we want to be the sheepdog. We want people to see that we are put together. Men are usually bigger than women, and because of our testosterone factor, we have maybe a little bit more of a sense of confidence naturally. So I'm gonna specifically address the ladies here. Ladies, you need to look like, at any moment, if you need to, you could open a can of you-know-what. I understand that you need to appear approachable, professional. That is all part of your success as a realtor. I get that. But you don't want to look like a doormat. When you speak with confidence and authority. You make eye contact, your chin is up, your shoulders are back. And the individual you're dealing with thinks to him or herself, this woman has her stuff together. Perception is reality. If the bad guy thinks you look like you could kick butt, he most likely will choose an easier potential victim. They don't want to fight the lion in the mirror. They want the kitty cat. Okay? As this goes back to being constantly observed, people are taking in this information. If you look defeated, before they've ever put a hand on you, you're going to stand out like in a crowd. You're going to stand out. Always have your head up. Always look at those people passing by. Look them in the eyes. Good eye contact. It's a show of confidence. Speak with authority. Verbal dynamics. They will take this all in. Trust me on that. Tips for positive perception. Walk with purpose. Chin up. Direct eye contact. When I say direct eye contact, I get teased about this. I'm not suggesting elevator eyes. For those that don't know what elevator eyes are, looking them up and down like you're checking them out. Just good direct eye contact. You're telling that individual, I see you, I'm not afraid of you, and I can positively ID you if anything happens. Appear confident yet approachable. Keep your appearance neat and tidy. Individuals that are in prison for life for killing police officers in interviews have made statements that they killed the officer because he let them. And what they mean by that is he looked like he couldn't, if you will, fight his way out of a wet paper bag. His uniform was not kept. He looked severely out of shape. He exercised poor tactics. He didn't display officer presence. He did not display confidence. And the bad guy thought, I think I can take him. And this is right out of their mouth. This is their words. Do not let the bad guy think that they can take you. And that is, it seems a little bit insignificant, but the way you dress, if you look put together, we assume, remember, perception's reality, we assume everything in your life is put together. If you look like you just rolled out of bed, we're going to think that's the rest of your life as well, and that you would not be prepared to protect yourself in your time of need. Remain orderly with your hands free, focused, and persistent. Our cell phone should be handy, but it should not be distracting us and taking up our hands all the time, along with 3 bags, 2 purses, contracts to sign, whatever. Our hands are what are going to keep us safe. We need to keep those as free as possible. And stay organized. Ensure anyone you deal with realizes you're methodical and clear when planning. Again, they'll believe that this is a theme throughout your life. If you're a mess when you show up to show a house, completely unprepared, they may believe that is the way it is in your life in every area. So safety while at work. We could spend a whole hour just on this. Although image is huge in your field, your clothing and your shoes should afford you free movement and the ability to run and fight if need be. When you go off to work, I'm sure the last thing on your mind is that you're going to get in a wrestling match. As when you leave for work, you get in your car, probably the last thing you think is that you're going to get into a car crash. Things that never happen somewhere all the time, remember. Ladies, 4-inch heels and tighter fitting skirts might look really good on you, but they don't afford you that free movement and the ability to run or fight if need be. Men, if you go to work and show houses wearing your skinny jeans, and not that any man should ever wear skinny jeans, I suggest that perhaps you find a different wardrobe. Again, the last thing on your mind when you go to work is that you might have to fight for your own life. Make sure your wardrobe affords you that opportunity if need be. Before any event, have a plan if things turn bad. Pre-planning. Take a moment. Slow down. Before you go off and show this house in the middle of nowhere with a perfect stranger, have a plan if things turn bad. And I'll speak about that more in a second. Someone should always be expecting you. This is a huge thing for me. Parents, this goes for you and your children. It also goes for you when you're at work. Make an arrangement with a coworker, spouse, etc., that you will contact them when leaving an event. Someone should always be expecting you. You go and show a house, and an unreasonable amount of time has gone by before someone's heard from you, there should be a plan in place so that they can start tracking you down. The quicker law enforcement can get involved, if something were to happen to you, usually the better the outcome. And speaking of law enforcement, utilize but don't depend on your local law enforcement. Here's my explanation of that. If you live in a huge, huge metropolitan area where you are showing properties, your police department may be so busy that they do not have the time to do what I'm about to suggest. But if you live in an area where they have enough officers and they're not going call to call, call the police department, tell them who you are, and that you're going to go show a house at a certain address, and you wonder if a police officer could be in the area. Maybe do a drive-by, or just be in that immediate area if things were to go bad. If it doesn't breach any type of privacy policy or procedure at work, provide the name of the individual you're going to show the house to law enforcement. They might be able to say, you know what, this guy has a warrant, or he is bad news. Maybe take a second person with you to show the house. Use your cell phone as a tool and have it accessible. And I'm going to say this before I get into using it as a tool. Don't allow it to distract you during your event. That's going to take practice. We get a buzz on our phone, we always look at it. And here's what I mean is having your cell phone as a tool. If you're going to show a property and you have maybe a bad feeling in your stomach, you're a little nervous about it, text a coworker when you get out to show the property. That starts the clock. In 3 to 5 minutes, that coworker is going to call you, and you can simply make a small phrase that, I'm showing a house, I can't talk right now. And that tells that coworker everything's okay. Or another phrase, I don't think I'm going to be able to make that meeting with you today, I'm too busy. That tells your coworker this is not going the way you want it to, and that will put the plan into place that you guys had spoke about prior to you going to show the house. Use your phone as an excuse to leave the house if you think things are going bad. Sir or ma'am, I have to take this call. Or I've received a text, or I've been looking for this email. I need to go outside to read this. Okay? Don't be afraid of offending people. Again, I understand your professionalism on the job is part of your success. But Gavin Becker talks about this in his book, The Gift of Fear, that women especially are afraid of offending people. And that's why they let the offender get too close to them before they react. They're afraid of offending. Don't be afraid of offending if your safety is in question. Never allow the client to be at your back. Present the room and allow them to walk past you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if this is a practice you already do, no insult to your intelligence. But our back is an area of vulnerability. If you are a very skilled fighter, then that may not be as much of a concern to you. But if that isn't your description, where you do not practice in a martial art or some type of fighting style on a weekly basis, then don't give them your back. Always present the room and allow them to walk past you. Familiarize yourself with the layout of the home ahead of time. Doors, windows, dead ends. Never put the client between you and your exit. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand you're busy. Perhaps you're showing lots of properties. If you can, please take the time to know the house you're going to show. At the very minimum, know if it's a ranch or a two-story. Get yourself familiar with the home before you show it. Don't show up and let that be the first time you're exposed to the property. Have some working knowledge of the property before it's shown. And if we put the client between you and your exit, if you do have to exit quickly, now you have a barrier between you and them. If you have the forethought to do this without looking too crazy when you show a property, always position your car in a manner that allows for fast and easy escape. Know your location, address, nearest landmarks and crossroads. If you are attacked and you escape to a closet and you shut the door and lock it and you're on the phone with 911, you are under a tremendous amount of stress. You need law enforcement to get to your location quickly. Do you even know where you're at? Do you know the house numbers? Do you know which side of the road it's on? Do you know east, west, north, and south? Is there a landmark in the immediate area? What's the nearest crossroad? This is all information you need to take a moment to know before you show the house. Again, you guys might do all this stuff. Just a reminder, avoid basements, cellars, closets, and even an upstairs. Direct your client to those areas. Usually there's no need to enter them. If they're upstairs and they have a question for you, if you can professionally and politely answer the question without going into the room with them, that's my suggestion. If you have to go in the room or go upstairs or downstairs, just try to exercise caution. Again, not putting them between you and your escape route. And if you're seeing a small window screen pop up, I apologize for that. I don't know why it's doing it. I'm going to go back to work for a second before we go on to play. Some of you may drive your client to the property you're going to show. They might meet you at your office, or you meet at a place where you mutually choose. They hop in with you and you go show them the property. I want you to know that studies across the board have shown that if you allow the bad guy, if you will, to take you somewhere or to have you take them somewhere, the chances are exceptional you will not survive that encounter. So you do not drive them anywhere or go with them anywhere. Even if it's an armed encounter, and this is the only time I will give you advice on an armed encounter, if they hold you at gunpoint or knife point, if the chances are already exceptional you will not survive if you take them there, then take your chances. In my humble opinion, get out of the vehicle, do something to separate yourself between them and you so that you don't have to go with them. And again, pre-planning. Know this before you put them in your car. While at play, have forethought in your plans for the day and night. If you don't have plans, someone else just may make them for you. Make smart decisions. Exercise common sense. Use good judgment. Ladies especially, if you're out socially and having a drink, you need to watch your drinks. This was information that I recently acquired on the dangers of drugs being slipped into your drink. The date rape drug, often the drug that's used is an animal tranquilizer. There is no human dose that is recommended. And so the individual who puts it in your drink to subdue you has no knowledge of what this is going to do to you. They have an expectation of what they hope happens, but they don't have a working knowledge of a dangerous level that they're putting in your drink. And in a recent seminar I attended, I learned that you can die after one exposure to that animal tranquilizer. And like most Americans, if we think, for example, one diet pill works well, then we'll take 2 or 3 because it'll work even better. The bad guy will do the same thing. Well, if I only need 2 drops in their drink, I'll put in 4 just to make sure. And that's what's happening. Your core body temperature is rising to dangerous levels. You go into a coma and you die in your sleep. While at play, you have to be on guard as well. And you have to watch your drinks. On the note, if a situation doesn't feel right, trust your gut. Gavin DeBecker speaks tremendously about this in his book. Know this, that our eyes take in more information than our conscious mind can process at the moment that it takes in that information. Our mind is efficient. It's going to take that information that it receives through your eyes, it's going to put it somewhere where you can still function at the task you're doing at that moment. But it's going to attach itself to what has been referred to as mental footnotes. And that mental footnote might be a book, a show, a seminar, something you read online, and it's going to attach itself to that and tell you, hey, this guy is displaying behavior of something that you read in an article or saw on TV. There is a reason that your body is telling you something's not right. And Gavin DeBecker says that without exception you should listen to that. Listen to your gut. If it doesn't seem right, it's probably not. Don't do anything that would put your career at risk. Personal life does influence professional life. You guys know that. Your faces are literally on billboards, you're on business cards, you're on road signs. You know how important it is to maintain that personal and professional image. Please be careful in your social media. It's fine to let people know what you do as far as career, but perhaps you should have a professional Facebook page and a personal Facebook page. Those who have no place in your life personally, that you don't do anything with them socially, really don't think it's wise to share with them when you go on vacation or what you're doing with your children. That should be shared only with people that you would consider a friend. Advertisements should also show you at work, not at play. There's a very successful local realtor where I live, and that individual on the billboards, it shows her recreating. It shows her at play. And we don't want a potential stalker or bad guy to know what that individual likes to do in their off time. Okay? An occupational hazard of dabbling in heavy drinking and or the use of drugs can result in injury, arrest, or even death. Death even after the first time of using certain drugs. Please don't ever experiment. It's simply not worth it. In the event of a physical altercation, in the beginning, attempt to maintain distance through engagement. Studies show you want a minimum of 6 feet or 2 of the offender's steps. When you make contact with somebody, especially if you have a feeling that they're not there, that they have a bad intent, look at them, take in their body size. Could they cover a lot of ground in 2 steps? Distance is your friend. However, if at the distance you're standing, they're able to strike you or grab you, contrary to what your body is going to want to do, you can move into them and give them a bear hug, burying your head into their chest, and it would be very hard for them to physically assault you while you're hanging on to them. Now that would obviously require some practice and training, and I would recommend that someone that's well trained in doing something like that show you how to do it, but there is a level of success at doing that. Understand your vulnerability. Ground, we don't want to go to the ground. While it's true that 8 out of 10 physical confrontations go to the ground, they usually always start standing up. The bad guy wants to take you to the ground. Police officers, we take people to the ground because we're able to control them better. The bad guy wants to control you. Don't let them take you to the ground. Corners, be observant as you're going around a corner. Don't have your face buried in your cell phone or in your purse as you're going around a corner. And not to sound, I said purse, guys, same thing. Don't be reading, don't be looking down when you're going around a corner. You need to know what's around every corner. Never allow them to take you someplace, as we discussed. As I will note in here, the conservation of energy, which is next. For those of you old enough to know what I'm talking about, back in the Bugs Bunny cartoon days, there was the Acme Wildcat. And it was the cat that the coyote would always buy, and it came in a little box, and he would unleash it to get the Roadrunner, except it always got him. That's what you need to be. That's what you need to picture in your mind, is that you are the Acme Wildcat if someone tries to take you somewhere. Energy conservation is not really an option right now. Do everything in your power not to allow that to happen. Conservation of energy. Remain calm, continually seek a way out. Okay. When you have what's called a startle response, you go to show a home, guy locks the door behind you and tries to drag you into the bathroom. Your startle response is going to activate. It's going to activate your sympathetic nervous system. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated, there are 3 energy systems that you will run on. The first is the ATP energy system, which is a very hot burning energy system, but it only burns for 15 to 20 seconds. During that 15 to 20 seconds, you can perform at 100% output. If you're a potato, 100% of output from a potato really isn't much. And what I mean by potato is your idea of exercise is playing Xbox. If you do possess a moderate level of fitness, your 100% can be quite impressive. After that 15 to 20 seconds burns out, you then move on to the lactic acid system, which burns at about 60% of your physical ability, and it can burn from 30 seconds to 45 seconds. Again, what is 60% of a potato? A French fry, right? The better shape you're in, the better that 60% will be at defending yourself. And then lastly, this is what you have ability to control, is your aerobic system. All things being equal, this confrontation takes a long time. Law enforcement isn't there yet. You're 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes into this altercation. You're now going to be running on your aerobic system. The better shape you are in aerobically could make the difference between life and death between you and the bad guy. And that's where I think it's important that you know that physical fitness does help. Okay? Continually seek a way out. Slow motion perception. Try to slow things down. Keep breathing. Look for an opportunity to either strike or to get away. We don't close our eyes. We don't crawl into the fetal position. We have to constantly look for a way out. During the altercation, dial 911 even if you can't talk or answer the dispatcher. They can locate you and will send an officer. Ladies and gentlemen, our cell phones are all GPS compliant, and dispatch, as long as they're phase 2 compliant, should be able to see where you're at. They should be able to see an address or an immediate area, the size of a 1,000 square foot home. It's really quite impressive. Know that your cell phone works though. Not all at once, but I always recommend this for my listeners. At your house or someplace where you normally do business, call 911 on your cell phone. Immediately tell the dispatcher this is not an emergency. I'd like to know though where you show me located at. Sometimes, because technology is not perfect, your cell signal might bounce off another tower and go to a dispatch center that's not even in the area where you're at. So it helps to know that your phone is working properly. And if you have to fight or flee, that 911 call is placed, law enforcement is on their way, and they have an open line to hear what's going on. Know this, that eyes and groin remain the most sensitive and most effective areas to strike. But know that they'll strike you in the same areas. It doesn't take a lot of physical skill at all to poke someone in the eye, strike them in the nose with an open palm. You don't have to be a weightlifter or a martial artist to do that. That gives you the biggest bang for the buck. Maintain an airway. Bad guys will pull hair, they will strike in the face, and they will choke. If you're getting choked with a wind choke, where they're closing down your airway, you literally have seconds to reestablish an airway before you may lose consciousness. And that's not to mention the immediate fear, overload of fear that's going to enter your body when you realize you cannot breathe. You have to maintain an airway. This is something I cannot tell you over this webinar on how to do, but you can learn that skill through a self-defense or martial arts class. Slow motion perception, that's when things slow down. People will report slow motion perception in car accidents. We don't have necessarily the control to do that. It happens automatically, but you do need, to the best of your ability, slow down what's happening in your mind. Take it frame by frame. You need to control your breathing. You've got to feed your muscles oxygen so that you can defend yourself, and you need to protect your head. The diagram I showed, there are three main areas where the head is just simply not designed to get hit. The front, which would be the nose and the eyes, if you get struck there, you can still function certainly, but your eyes will be watering, you might be bleeding from the nose. It can disrupt your ability to defend yourself certainly. The band, that would go like where your sunglasses are, to the side of your head. That area, that strip there, it's about a 2-inch strip that runs along the side of your head, is not designed to be struck, and neither are the ears. That can cause balance displacement, can cause a problem. And the base of your neck, behind your head. Those are the occipital lobes, will be on the left and right side of your spine. That, when struck properly, can actually be fatal. If you guys all remember the sit-up position that you put your arms and hands in when you're going to do a sit-up, whereas you wrap your hand around the base of your head, behind your head, and your elbows are facing forward. If you do that, you can protect all three of those areas by assuming that position. You can protect all three of those areas. So protect your head. And it's fair game. If you need to defend yourself, that's where you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck. In the event of a physical altercation, know that you have the right to personal safety morally and legally. Specific laws may vary from state to state, but know this: as long as force exerted was necessary and within reason, you should be fine. You will be judged by a jury of peers if this were to go to court. The only expectation you're being held to is what a reasonable person would do, the reasonable person standard. Ladies, if you're walking through a bar and someone swats you on the rear end and says, looks like you've been working out, you don't have the right to gouge their eyes out or flog them like a cockroach with pepper spray, even though you may want to. But if you have an immediate fear for your personal safety and you don't believe there's another option, such as fleeing or leaving the area, then you have the absolute right to defend yourself. Know this, that a sexual assault in any state is considered deadly force. In other words, you can use any amount of force up to deadly force to save yourself or even save someone else. I think that's fantastic that they hold that with such weight, that sexual assault is deadly force. All right. That is the conclusion of my presentation. We have about 2 minutes. I want to encourage you not to hesitate to contact me for your safety needs or questions. If anything during this presentation I said today just didn't make sense to you, perhaps it didn't set well with you, or it led to other questions, do not hesitate to get a hold of me. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. My email is up here. So I encourage you to get a hold of me if you have safety training needs or if you have questions. Thank you. And I'm available for questions now.